Everyone, thanks for coming today. I think we've had a lot of great product announcements around real time so far. And we've assembled a panel with one of our most trusted partners, Acxiom, because they have a lot of really good POV on how they're enabling real time with treasure data for their clients within many different industries. And with the new announcements today, there's a lot of stuff we're excited to show you, as well as we're going to have a dedicated Q&A at the end. And I will say this, when Vipul asked me to help, he said this was going to be like a very small breakout session with like 10 people. So I'm glad to see that he set me up for failure. It looks like there's a lot more than 10, but that's awesome because we're excited. Now, a lot of great speakers today. I'll start. We're each going to do our own introductions. Now, my name's Phil Kopp. I'm a senior solutions consultant at Treasure Data. I give demos, support the go-to-market team, and work a lot with Vipul, who I'll pass it to next.
Awesome, thanks, Phil. My name is Vipul, and I work as a solution architect here at Treasure Data. I have about a decade of experience in data engineering, data warehousing, and today we're going to be introducing what new is coming to real time and what are all the possibilities around it. So I'm super excited, and I'll pass it to Dimi from Acxiom.
Hello, everyone. Dimi Josko-Rulas, Head of Platform Services for Acxiom EMEA. I've been working as part of the partnership between Treasure Data and Acxiom since day one, essentially, and I've worked extensively with all the way from pre-sales to implementation for all the projects that we actually done, including multinational deployments. I'll be available for any questions, so far away. Deepak?
How's it going, everyone? I'm working at on the US side of Acxiom, trying to bring a lot of our Acxiom products and capabilities into the Treasure Data platform.
Awesome.
Back to you, Phil.
So the format we're going to follow today, we're going to talk how we enable personalization with real-time use cases. We're going to go into some of the challenges we've seen both in the industry as well as within our client base. And then finally, we'll talk about what are the solutions and specific use cases we're bringing to the table to address those challenges. And then finally, we want to open up the floor to you all. Any questions you have about anything real-time, we want to leave 10 or 15 minutes at the end to go through that. So what is real-time 2.0 and why should you care? I think, this is one of those things within the industry to where we don't really necessarily need to sell the concept or why you should care about real-time. Real-time usually is better. When you buy a product, you want to get the confirmation email instantly or else you think maybe something went wrong with the purchase. When you book a hotel, same thing. Real-time personalization use cases are incredibly important, not only for upselling, cross-selling, identifying new customers, but also ensuring customer satisfaction across all channels. And when we think about the solution set we're bringing to the table, it's not only on the activation side of things, but also on that profile unification side as well. And so we've got some incredibly smart people on the panel today that I want to tee up to talk more about that. Now, the question becomes, why do we care? And sort of like what I alluded to, 71% of consumers today prefer or expect real-time experiences. I think we've all had the experience of buying a product or booking something online, and if you don't really get that confirmation immediately, you begin to question, did something go wrong? And I think we've all been frustrated when this doesn't happen. I know I've made big purchases on Amazon before, and when I don't see the shipping notification happen instantly, suddenly I'm trying to call customer support, and I've ruined my whole day at that point. Now, question for the panel today, I'll throw it over to you, Dimi, first. Yeah. Why should customers care about personalization?
Because that's actually what drives the customer experience. Essentially, when you have meaningful conversations with your customers, that increases the likelihood that they're going to convert through the funnel. They have more meaningful experience with the brand. That actually helps to also, not only on the conversion, but customer loyalty as well. You have meaningful conversations, they have the impression that, and it becomes reality essentially, that you know them, you know what makes them tick, and you actually grow through that relationship over time to increase your marketing objectives essentially, which I think is pivotal in today's day and age to actually have this in real time as an experience. I think the technology, and today's showcase speaks of that, has actually come leaps and bounds. You actually started with what we used to call big data, but now we're moving into small data. So small data signals, that means that you can personalize on the back of and have that meaningful conversation. And I know everyone's been talking about it for the last 20 years. Now we're in a position to do it using the right message, the right channel, the right time, and the right content.
Love that phrase. Love that phrase. Hasn't been overused at all. We may use it a couple times today.
Just a ton.
Yeah, just a few. Question to you.
When you say customers, are you talking about the customers that are in this room or the end customer?
I would say both, whatever you think is more relevant for the conversation. Maybe the customers in the room.
So in terms of a business, why real time or the customer experience, as you say, is important. I think it's all about spend. And I think for companies like us that are trying to make sure that our technology is connected, we're also very focused on the spend, right? And it's important to know in real time or near real time, what are our customer databases telling us the signals are, and where should we spend our effort and money to go attract that customer or our end customer. We all use the word customer now.
I think so. I think we can use customer. Vipul, question to you. Why should people care?
I think people should care because personalization is the biggest thing. A lot of studies such as like, even if I have one bad experience, people tend to move out of your loyal fan base and move to other brands. That's how important personalization is, understanding in real time what a customer is going through and delivering them the right messages. Again, the slide says it right there. 76% get frustrated when this doesn't happen, or they don't have a good experience. And this is a study by McKinsey. So I think personalization in marketing is the biggest thing.
Absolutely. So then the question becomes, how do we get personalization right to deliver great customer experiences? And so when we think about the CDP and the role that it plays, I think what people thought about for the longest time was data unification from multiple different sources, and how do we do that at scale? And then it became, how do we use the framework to then engage customers? If any of you are Treasure Data customers or prospects, maybe you've seen the Audience Studio where we do segmentation and journey building. And that's great and all, but we're doing that on a batch time frame. Now, what that means is that there may be a day to as many as a week delay by the time we have fresh data about those customers. So what if someone booked a hotel? How do we send them a push notification instantly? If someone booked a test drive for a car, how do we immediately send them that email with the information they need to enable the customer experiences like that we said are expected today? Now, question to the Acxiom team, getting personalization right is key. How have you all seen that happen? What are some key points you would like to say here today?
I'll pick it up. So I think what we've actually seen in the market is a lot of people coming in with ideas around capability. I want to deliver, for example, personalization on the web, on media, whatever that is actually the objective. The key bit is though, do you have the right data brought into the CDP to act upon that vision? And I think that's actually key. Data is the fuel that powers personalization. And where you actually have meaningful data, and most importantly these days, event streams from your app, your website, that allow you to have a meaningful conversation in session. So not essentially a segment that's been calculated a few days ago. You're talking to the customer about what they're in the market now, and it's actually what they're searching for, what they're trying to book, if we're talking about travel, etc. So that drives that downstream funnel behavior, and trying to actually have more signals is what we say to our customers, for example, get event data in first, and then everything else will actually follow, because it's going to drive your meaningful personalization.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the things I'm focused on is, in order to have personalization really work, you need all of the things that are connected to it to work as well, right? Content. And how do you classify content? Because you could have all the data points coming in, but if you have nowhere to land them or nowhere to take the experience, then it doesn't work. So we're really focused on understanding, not only solving for getting the data in, but once you get the data in, making sure that what you're getting out of the data are insights that you could turn into creative briefs for your creative agencies, your content agencies, to go do something with, to go create that experience. And I think you'll see over the next couple of years, especially into 2024, with some of the capabilities coming out, people are like, hey, we'll just pop this into generative AI. Or, not really. I mean, yes, you can, but you really need that creative agency, that creative world to take those words that are coming out of your CDP and do something magical with it.
Absolutely.
And I think just to cover another topic here is when we're actually talking about personalization, we are in a place now that we're not talking about our own media. So your traditional email, your website is also paid media, social, display. All that actually comes together in what we call the messy middle, because you have essentially, it has not been cracked yet. Treasure Data is a very good platform to actually crack that messy middle between owned and paid media, because you have the connectors that enable the distribution to the media targets, and also you have now the real-time capability to do suppression audiences based on behaviors. So you don't actually waste, you reduce your marketing wastage on paid media, where there's actually hard dollars leaving the business.
Yes, suppression use cases is something that I've seen brought up more. And usually that's not where your mind goes immediately on the real time. You think more on like the activation side, but suppression is even more important for a lot of use cases. Now, it's easy to talk about, we can go up here and paint a picture of real-time 2.0 and it's all seamless and easy, but the reality is that there's a great deal of challenge that goes into creating these real-time experiences. So Vipul, I want to throw this to you first. In terms of challenges you've seen around creating a real-time customer experience, maybe the tech stack that needs to be there, and some of the more general things you have to say on this topic, where would you go first?
I would say the biggest thing is channel integration. So data is coming to you from different channel at different speeds, latency. There are different formats. You have formatted, unformatted, JSON, big data. There's so much to be had there. And then these systems don't talk to each other. So to build an actual real-time personalization, you need the best channel integration out there that surpasses all of these challenges across technologies, across different APIs. And when I say APIs, what I mean is these systems have to be managed in a way. So Facebook likes to change its API every 15 days. What happens then? You need a system that is managing all these changes within itself. So marketers or business stakeholders can do what matters most, that is creating the right campaigns.
Absolutely. Question to the Acxiom team. I mean, lots of customers, lots of incredible use cases. What are some of the challenges you all have seen?
I'll start with data, funnily enough. So a lot of organizations have, and we heard this early in the plenary sessions, have a lot of data and they try to shoehorn all that into the CDP without having a real hard look at why do I need to bring that data forward. So there's a lot of wasted effort to bring data that might not be relevant for your use cases. So on our side on Acxiom, we actually, like any other professional services outfit, we have a framework, what we call the 6 E's, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. I digress. However, we use that to essentially guide our clients through a logical process to get speed to value for their investment. So what we start always is use cases. And we actually look at high value use cases that are going to bring benefit immediately to the organization, look at the data that actually comes in from various systems to support the activation of these use cases, and we take it from there. So we actually go through a value-based approach to make sure that the investment that the client is actually making brings rewards and benefits to the business at the earliest opportunity. Yes. Now, if we actually look at more global clients, there are some challenges that come with any global organization where you have data silos, fragmentation, compliance comes into play as well about who can view what data sets, who can activate where, who owns the customer. So there's a lot of complexity there the organizations deal with. Now, my piece of advice, and I'll stop there, is you need to actually look at your use cases and mobilize your project for success. You need to look at what is the executional steps, who needs to be part of that implementation and rollout journey within the organization, mobilize them, get them hyped about the process to create that swell of success, I would say, in order to deliver this successfully.
Same to you.
Well, I'd say if you've solved your connector problem and you've solved your data problem, then the next piece that we all need to focus on is building the right team to nurture this technology, right? I find like a lot of people think that this capabilities of this technology is just set it and forget it, right? We did this one 6-month project and now we got it running and it should bring up this magic and this gold. You really need a team to go in and constantly look at what the data is telling you, query the information, understand new segments, understand patterns, and then take that to the creative teams or the strategy teams to come up with something interesting about it, you know. And I think that's the difference between what the old traditional marketing databases were to why people are going towards the CDP world. They want to understand what's happening, but in order to understand what's happening, you need people to interpret that. And I find a lot of organizations fail in that they don't have the right people to nurture and grow this technology or use the technology.
And that's interesting because I think the people, I think what I've seen across most of the engagements we've had is that there's probably a lot of very technical people in this room. And when we think about the power that a CDP has, there's lots of incredibly deep technical things that you can do with it. But ultimately, we want to make sure that we're designing what the CDP can do, and not even just for real-time use cases, but any use case with the end user in mind, not even the end customer, but your end day-to-day platform practitioner. We work a lot in the pharmaceutical industry to where we need to make sure that we're getting sales data to the correct reps. We need to make sure that marketing users have the right data they need. And we can create the greatest data model in the world, but if it's not accessible, if it's not what they need, then ultimately will not be used. And that's what we don't want.
Just to add a couple of notes on that one, because you actually touched on something that is close to my heart, let's say pharma. You know, there's a lot of, in the regulatory framework, you have a lot of compliance, let's say, constraints that you need to work with. What we've actually found to be quite successful is bring everyone on the journey, especially when you actually talk about marketeers. Audience Studio is empowering marketeers to be self-sufficient. Gone are the days where you have to call someone on the dev side to come and build a segment for you. You have the power to not only create the segment, but also activate it.
Absolutely.
Now, the next step of what you actually described today is a leap forward. That marketeer now doesn't need to actually have hard technical skills to deliver those. You can actually use natural language processing to come up with your segment and activate it. That's a big thing. However, that also means that organizations need to go through a cultural change as well.
Yes.
To Deepak's point, you need to have the right people that are hyped to the sufficient degree and being eager to adopt the CDP and actually make it their own. Because if you don't have an adoption plan, that's where things get stale.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that can be one of the key challenges that doesn't even really represent any type of technical challenge, but organizational challenges. And I think when we talk a lot about challenges, there's a lot of them, but we're here to provide solutions. Now, Real-Time 2.0 is an evolution of the platform. There are real-time capabilities in Treasure Data today. However, they are behind more technical UIs. And what Real-Time 2.0 is bringing to the table is allowing complete control for your marketing and business users across batch and real-time use cases. Now, Vipul, I want to throw this one to you first, as I do often on sales calls. What, from a more technical area, would you say, when we talk about Real-Time 2.0, what are maybe the top 3 things that you would say people should be excited about?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is the unification of batch and real data. So what we're launching is a unified persistent ID across our batch and real-time layer. Treasure Data does batch unification really well. We've been able to do it at scale for billions of records. We could do a real-time unification, but they didn't talk to each other. What we're launching is the ability in real time to look up if an ID exists for this particular person. And if it does, tag the incoming data with the existing ID. And if it does not exist today, then generate an ID and sync it back to the batch layer so that next time when more batch data comes in, you have that ID available. I think that's a big thing all of our customers have been asking about. Cass talked about it, and we're super excited about it. Second thing is this data, it's unified. I've collected it, unified it. How do I activate it? Now, right now, you need engineers to work on YAML files and set up configurations. Going ahead, you would be able to do that in the journey orchestration UI. So any marketer or business user can use the drag and drop interface to bring in any data point, streaming data, and create activations in real time to all these different platforms, to ESP, to SMS, any offline channels, call center, all of those things are possible. We'll launch a bunch of connectors to the most widely used platforms that support real-time activation. And we'll also have an open API, so you can send data to any bespoke solution of your choice as well. And the final thing that I'm really excited about is right now, we could do all of this that I just talked about. It was just a lot more configuration. There are different systems we had to do. It will be all in one platform, one UI. It will be much, much less cheaper than maintaining all of those systems that we have right now.
Awesome. And then questions to the Acxiom team, product announcement today. We've been talking the past few weeks about this. What are you all excited about for Real-Time 2.0? When we say Real-Time 2.0, what does that mean to you? What's top of mind? What's exciting?
I would say simplicity. I think this is one of the key things here, because we've done for client implementations a framework essentially with Real-Time 1.0, I guess, or whatever is actually the past. So we actually implemented, and I'll go a little bit on the technical aspect here. We implemented workflows to simulate real-time behavior in Treasure Data for our clients. So essentially, event streams will actually come in. We would execute a workflow in a very short time interval and give the illusion of real-time event triggering. So triggering an email engagement in in batch real-time, quote unquote, in the past, by rebuilding essentially the event table every 30 seconds. Now, that also meant that we were only able in the past to communicate and use that event stream for known customers. What you're building out now with Real-Time 2.0 is the ability to not only have a truly event-driven engagement. So as soon as the event comes in, I know exactly what my CJO is going to do, which channel is going to activate, and if you actually have dynamic segmentation, you're going to fall into another segment. We used to do that with workflows. Now it actually works out of the box. That is simplicity of implementation, simplicity of maintenance. Just to top that off, that also means that with the advent of new API payloads that you actually have, so I will be able to pass more data to my target personalization platform, be it, I'm not going to name vendors, but anyone that actually does real-time changes to your website, and I'll leave it there. Essentially give that payload up, be it segmentation, personalization attributes, to make sure that that target platform in real time has the latest information for that customer to serve personalization based on the last click. Not the segment from an hour ago, not the segment from a week ago.
So unlocking the true power of the data within the CDP now at scale across all channels in real time.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
We'll never have to touch YAML files again.
No more YAML files. I can't promise that. Well, they probably can't.
More power to marketers.
Yeah, more power to marketers. No more YAML files. So what has changed? Now, Vipul, I want to throw this to you because I think you're really good at talking about this. Let's maybe not go as deep as you did last time. Let's raise the high level up about 2 feet. Now, what's changed about Treasure Data? What are we announcing today? How's it different? Give us the high level of that.
Yeah, so I think I covered the first two in the last slide. So let's start with the third one. So size of payload. We had some earlier restrictions with Treasure Data around how many attributes you can send out in real time. We're changing that. You'll have an ability to send out as much data as you want. Don't quote me on that. Engineering hates it, but you'll also have the ability to have full profile. Right now, only the web SDK data generated by our JS SDK, you could personalize off of that in real time. Now you can use any data stream, be it coming from offline channel, online channel. You can do real-time triggering and activations based off of it. Next, I would say derived attributes. This is something our customers have been asking about. So in real time, if an event comes in and it changes my segment membership or it changes something very significant about me, you want to act differently. So let's say if I am at 4 purchases, I'm a gold member, and at 5, I become a platinum member. Immediately when I become a platinum member, I get eligible for any kind of offer, or am eligible for reduced prices on the website, right? So we have ability to do derived attributes. So any attribute that exists in batch can be sent to real time. And then going ahead, you can have counters and different conditions and complex logic in there. Journeys and triggers united. That's again, all of the triggers we will be available in the journey orchestration UI, and all your batch and real-time journeys live in one place. So that's very powerful. It's one UI that does everything. And last, I'll go very quick about this. I know Phil's staring at me, which is like ability to do complex rules. So we can do as complex rules as you want, even down to regular expressions or rule-based, or we can take like an ML output in batch and have that as a deciding factor for the real-time activation. So there are some really nice capabilities. I will not go into more detail. Please be at the Real-Time 2.0 booth, and I'll be happy to answer any more questions.
And show you the demo too.
Yes.
The real demo. Now, those were kind of like what we've seen as like how things have changed. Now I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the use cases that we now can enable with these new changes. And so, we've got 3 here. Now I'm going to throw this over to you, Dimi. Are there any, when you think of Real-Time 2.0 and the new features it's bringing to the platform and the use cases you'll be able to enable, where does your mind go first? Like, what's the most exciting thing you think of? Maybe it's some of them on the screen here. Where would you like to start?
I would actually say that, these are 3 typical use cases that permeate a lot of business sectors. The key for me here is the fact that now it's truly event-driven. You can act upon an event that comes in real time. So I'll use as an example. You have, for example, like today, a conference business. You actually all been scanned today in various cases. All that data can actually come in, trigger an email follow-up, trigger an app notification. This is actually the power of having relevant conversations with the customer based on the latest events. And venues like this, it becomes crucial to identify which events people attended. If we look at the pharma sector, where do people go in terms of the conferences, which venues they attended? If you actually look at commerce, essentially, you have abandoned cart. What about which product they actually browsed? You don't have to actually put that in front of the customer, but you can actually suck that in as an event and use that for next best action, next best offer, because that's going to impact the machine learning models that are in the platform. And in real time, you actually have the best view of your customer and you can act upon it.
Absolutely. Across both batch and real-time attributes, I think is what's incredibly exciting to me.
Something I want to add, it's not only across batch and real time. This surpasses online and offline interaction. So online to online is like someone bought the product. Can I immediately suppress them from programmatic Google ads? That's tremendous value to our customers. Call center routing is very common for our hospitality customers. So you can have a pricing that you reserve for a certain amount of time. And we have time-based triggers. So if the reserve pricing expires in next 20 minutes, immediately route it to a call center agent so that they can call that person and ask them, do they want to hold the booking? Another one is like an offline event that drives a push notification. So you do like a POS transaction at your checkout, or you check in at the hotel. That event is routed through a Kafka stream to Treasure Data in real time. And now we have ability to push notifications using Firebase or any of the other app platforms that you'd like. So I think these are really exciting changes because we're spanning across online and offline interactions.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Just to actually add to that, we are actually working with an automotive client where we actually use the data from their Wi-Fi, so who actually attends a dealership, to know that, okay, you need to send a notification now or have a meaningful conversation with that person because it's a hot lead. They're in a dealership, you need to actually just trigger the next action. So essentially the event-driven architecture, especially in the offline world, you can use Wi-Fi, location beacons, number plate recognition. The world's your oyster. We're actually living in a connected world. Anything that happens, you can actually put it in and act upon it.
And I think what I can't stress enough is that the beauty of the solution is that a marketing non-technical user will be able to configure something like that in the near future from a UI that's completely drag and drop. So someone like me will be able to go in, I want to design a journey based off something as specific as what Dimi just said, and I don't need to ask Vipul to do that for me, I can do it myself. Not that I don't need Vipul anymore. I'll always need Vipul, but I don't need him for that anymore. And so really allowing marketing users, like the whole point of the CDP is to make them more self-sufficient. We do that today, but now extending that into use cases that are truly, truly powerful is the goal and the vision. Now, Acxiom team, I want to pass it to you to go over this slide, and then we want to leave, about 10 or so minutes for the Q&A.
Yeah.
So, Dimi, I'll pass it to you.
I'm just going to gloss over this. It's just, echoing what was actually mentioned by Kaz earlier today. So the CDP is breaking free of the strict boundaries, let's say, of the marketing world. We see increasingly people having the need to bring in a variety of data streams for compliance, for digital asset management, and bring them in to create meaningful campaigns for the customer. The key bit here is Treasure Data as a CDP can help democratize the data across the organization, not only within the marketing department, but essentially your compliance, GDPR comes into play, CCPA, signals around finance. You actually mentioned pricing, for example. You can actually look into dynamic pricing scenarios and so on. I think with the advent of Real-Time 2.0, the two bits at the top are essentially where is your strong point. You actually fuel personalization to target platforms. So either activation audiences or suppression audience to optimize your media spend, or your owned, let's say, channels on the left-hand side where you would actually feed real-time data to your customers to personalize and bring meaningful experiences. Now, one of the things that I'd like to stress with Real-Time 2.0, and Vipul actually touched upon it, is the unification of the known and unknown customers. Essentially, in the past, before Real-Time 2.0, essentially, if someone landed on your website, you would actually have that event, but until the next build of the master segment, you would not be able to actively personalize. That constraint is now gone, which means as soon as someone lands on your website, you can start personalizing based on last click. And that's where the two bits at the bottom right come in. Depending on your use cases, what we increasingly see is that an enhanced identity will be required going forward for certain use cases. So things like telco and automotive, where we need to actually have a cohesive conversation with the household rather than the individual to make sure that we have a consistent message across the household. We don't cannibalize products between and offers between members of the same household. And second and third party data, in order to actually springboard your unknown to known, is paramount. So when you have someone that is a completely blank sheet that lands on your website, how can you actually bring third party data in to enrich that first touch point with your brand? So the example that I usually bring forward for this is geolocation. So where they're coming from, I'll actually get cohort data from their specific zip code or postcode, depending on your locale, and have a more meaningful conversation with propensity variables from a third-party data set to essentially have that meaningful conversation around what demographic segment they're in and help move that journey forward. As you get to know them, obviously, that third-party data set might actually have less, let's say, utility, but is absolutely paramount to have that initial visit being more impactful for the customer. This is what we actually call a hub and spoke architecture. Treasure Data is very well placed to be the hub that democratizes data across the organization. And given the fact you have 200 connectors, the world's your oyster. You can bring data in from anywhere and send it to almost anywhere without having to go through a laborious IT-led, let's say, process to go and take the data out. And what we actually do, and that's part of our messaging to our clients, is we're going to take the burden away from your internal organization, and we're going to go and play fetch, for the lack of a better term, with the data from your source systems, bring them in, curate them, hygiene them, and make them into a meaningful and impactful marketing master segment that you can actually use to talk to your customers. Now, and I'll stop here for questions. What I would say is we have deployed a significant amount of Treasure Data projects, and there's a lot of lessons learned both for organizational change and how to actually get prepared for the CDP rollout. All that I'm going to say at this point is I'll be at the Acxiom booth. If anyone has any questions over and above these 10 minutes that we have left, feel free to drop by. Thank you.
So with that, I do think we're at time, and I just want to thank everyone for coming to the talk today, as well as coming to CDP World. Now, in closing, I think that we are very excited to talk to you about this solution. So many of you are customers, some of you are here learning more about Treasure Data. If you are currently in communications with someone at Treasure Data, please, if you're interested at all in this, ask to see it, ask for a demo, ask for more information. Vipul, myself, our colleagues are very excited to show this to you. And the Acxiom booth, as well as the Treasure Data booth, we're here to drive these conversations with you. So if you don't have someone to talk to already, please speak to me, speak to Vipul, speak to the Acxiom team, and we'll get you connected with someone. But thank you, everyone, for coming today. Thank you for coming to CDP World, and have a wonderful rest of the day.